Good morning, everyone. I'm Rahul, and today I'm honored to share a book of Professor Yuval Noah Harari, who is an Israeli historian and professor at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He is a dynamic speaker, thinker, and now an international best-selling author of 3 books. The 3 books are here. I have read 2 of his books, and I'm gonna share ideas from one of his books today, and that is Sapiens. He published this book in 2014, which explored our history as humans. And the second book, named Homo Deus, came in 2016, in which he explored future humans. And in his third book, 21 Lessons of 21st Century, he discussed about some present issues that we are facing today. In total, his writing explored big concepts like free will, intelligence, and consciousness. So let's discuss his first book, Sapien, today. It's one of my favorite books. In this book, Professor Harari discusses about the 3 important revolutions that shaped the course of history. He categorizes these revolutions like the cognitive revolution that happened roughly 70,000 years ago. The second one is agricultural revolution, which he called a big scam that happened 12,000 years ago. And the last one, the scientific revolution that we are already going through, which started 500 years ago. This book tells a story of how these revolutions have affected humans and their fellow organisms. It explores one of the most interesting questions, that how is it that humans came to be the most dominant species on the planet? What is about the Homo Sapiens that is so special? He answered this riddle by saying that on individual level, we all are embarrassingly similar to a chimpanzee, dog, or a pig. And he said that if we place you and chimpanzee on a lonely island to see who survives better, then of course, guys, chimpanzee will outstand us. But if we leave 1,000 humans and 1,000 chimpanzees on an island, then humans will do far better. So it's not on the individual level that we can see the success of species, but on the collective level, guys. Very true. In addition, he said that we humans control the planet, because we are the only animals, as far as we know, ever in the history of planet that manages to cooperate flexibly in large numbers. There are other animals, especially like insects, ants, bees, and termites, that know how to cooperate in large numbers, but they don't have flexibility. Their cooperation is determined by the genetic code. He makes it clear by adding one example, that if a beehive faces any danger, guys, there is no way the bees are going to reinvent a new social system overnight. There is no way that the bees execute the queen bee and start a communist state of worker bees. Whereas human beings are much flexible and construct their new social system anytime. On the contrary, he also shared the social cooperation is not always better for human beings, such as man-made prisons, armies, concentration camps. These all nasty things happened because of cooperation and mutual understanding. Whereas chimpanzees don't have such kind of things. Then he shares how do humans cooperate successfully? What makes them to cooperate such a big level and such a successful level? He said it's because of human imagination. That in particular, the ability to invent fictional stories and spread them around. If we examine any large-scale human cooperation, we will always find some fictional story behind it. That's true, guys. It's human unique ability. You cannot convince a monkey that you give me a banana, I promise you that you get limitless bananas after your death in heaven. No, monkey will never believe on this story. Only human beings can believe such stories. Which is why we control the world, not the monkeys, as long as millions of people all believe in same stories. He said that there are no gods in the universe, no nations, no money, no law. The common imagination and cooperation of human beings have the root stuff in it. I totally agree with him. Next in the book, he shares the story of money. He says that the dollar bill doesn't have any objective reality. We cannot eat it, drink it, or wear it. You cannot do anything with it. There is a story that everybody believed that this is a green piece of paper which can buy 10 bananas or apple or any useful thing. You can take this worthless piece of paper to a supermarket and give to a complete stranger who gives you whatever you feel like making it up. This is similar. No other animals can do. They can give you a coconut in exchange of a banana, but not in case of paper. So at the end, he says that these fictional stories are only powerful forces in the world. Today, the very survival of elephants, monkeys, rivers, forests depend on the decisions and wishes of these fictional entities. And that's why we are facing this global stuff. He shares strongly with the fact that the money that is there in the world, the sum total of money in the world is about $60 trillion. Yet the sum total of coins and banknotes is less than 6 trillion. More than 90% of all money exists only on computer servers, guys. If everybody wishes to withdraw their money today, only 10% of people will get it. Strange, isn't it? He opens new realms by sharing his next thought on history's greatest fraud. Harari emphasizes to think for a moment about agricultural revolution from the viewpoint of wheat. 10,000 years ago, when wheat was just a wild grass confined to a small range in Middle East, suddenly within a few short millennia it came growing all over the world. According to the basic evolutionary criteria of survival and reproduction, wheat has become one of the most successful plants in the history of Earth. But the question arises, how did this grass turn from insignificant to ubiquitous? Our species lived as hunter-gatherers, uprooting wild plants, gathering wild nuts, picking wild fruits. Around 12,000 years ago, the human way of life began to change drastically. We stopped moving around and searching for food and instead brought plants and animals to us. The average farmer worked harder than the average forager and got a worse diet in return. Before the agricultural revolution, men stood roughly 5 feet 10 inches tall and women were 5 feet 6 inches. Afterwards, average male height dropped to 5 feet 5 inches and average female height dropped to 5 feet 1 inches. The researchers suspect that a dietary switch from less protein to more refined carbohydrate diet has become the root cause. So in this book, Professor Harari poses a question that does wheat serve us or do we serve wheat? So we didn't like rocks and pebbles, so sapiens broke their backs clearing fields. We didn't like sharing its space, water and nutrients with other plants. So men and women labored long days weeding under the scorching sun. The farmers had to guard and protect it. Thus the life of a peasant is less than that of a hunter-gatherer. Well, Harari said that history is something that every few people have been doing, while everyone else was plowing fields and carrying water buckets. In the next chapter of Happiness and the Meaning of Life, Harari says that the most important finding of all is that happiness does not really depend on objective conditions of either wealth, health, and even community. Rather, it depends on the correlation between objective condition and subjective expectations. Our subjective well-being is not determined by external parameters like salary, social relations, or political rights. Instead, it is determined by a complex system of our nerves and neurons and various biochemical substances like serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. We tend to believe that if we buy a new car or get married or crack the exam or deal, we would be on the top of the world. Yet, when we get what we desire, we don't seem to be any happier. We never get satisfied with whatever we achieve, and we tend to get bored after some time. Mr. Harari said that happiness is not the surplus of pleasant over unpleasant moments. Rather, a meaningful life can be extremely satisfying, even in the midst of hardship, whereas a meaningless life is terrible all day, no matter how comfortable it is. At the end, guys, Professor Harari says in his book that in the past 1,000 years, humans have evolved to take over the world and are on the verge of overcoming natural selection and becoming gods. Yet, we still seem unhappy in many ways and we are unsure of what we want. So he poses a question before ending his book, that is there anything more dangerous than dissatisfied and irresponsible gods who don't know what they want? Well, that's all about this book, guys. I'll be sharing my views about his next book, Homo Deus, which I am already reading, and I wish you will like his book and his thoughts too, and I highly recommend this book to everybody. Hope you will like my video. See you next time. Thank you.